What up? We back, y'all, with another episode of Straight from the Chair. You know it. It's Marcus Murray, a.k.a. the Barber with the bow tie.
And I'm Brice Davis of Brice Davis Media.
Hey, I'm going to start off with a barber tip, man. Today's barber tip is how to sit in a barber chair. Never step on the footrest to sit in the chair. Put your feet across the footrest, sit in the chair, then put your feet on the footrest. People like to stand on the kids and grown men.
I was about to say kids. I know they go crazy.
They like
with
to
it.
stand on the footrest. It's not a footstool. It's a footrest. So your feet are supposed to touch that after you sit down. Got another one from the Barber with the bow tie, baby. It's good though.
Man, you seen the news cycle lately?
I mean, you know I don't watch that bullshit. But the shop be full of conversations, so I'm pretty hip to most of the shit that's going on.
Yeah, man, Diddy.
That's not my man.
He's been in court lately, dealing with the Cassie situation. And it's something I want to say about that whole thing. She's doing, they're going back and forth because, they're saying that he took advantage of her, sexually for a really long time. So I agree to it to an extent. Like some of the things in there, I think she was into and was able to manipulate and flip the situation back on him. I'm not trying to say that she was necessarily the perpetrator here, but we can go over a couple things though. Her and Diddy was messing around for almost 11 years straight. She was messing with him while married. And the husband knew about that. The husband was aware that she was still having sexual relations with Diddy. And on top of that, she got married to dude a year after Diddy. Like, that wasn't that much time. And within that year span, she's having this kid and whatnot. And his reaction in the courtroom was amazing. And they started talking about what that escort did to her.
Daniel Phillips, I think his name is.
And also, there were some text messages that she initiated to the freak off saying she enjoyed them and wanted to be a part of them.
So what's your stance?
Okay, so my whole thing is, I think she was into some of that. I'm just being totally honest, because if the text messages, if she went out her way to say she enjoyed the freak offs or can't wait for the next one and wants to be a part of them, yeah, to some degree, we got to start holding women accountable the same way as we do men. I'm not saying like assault survivors, that's totally different. Right. But it seems like we hold women to a less accountable standard than we do men. Because like if a man, I know there's a double standard thing and I agree with double standards, but if we were to flip the situation and let's say a woman paid another woman to do something to you and you disagreed with it after the fact, we wouldn't really look at it the same way as if a woman changed her mind about an act that she performed. Even though in this situation, you can say she was coerced or manipulated into it, or she did it out of fear, which that's what this whole part of this trial is about, is whether or not she did all these things out of fear because, he's a abusive man, which I do think Diddy was highly abusive. I want to be clear on that.
I think I just seen the tape of him, the elevator scene recently, because I really don't be tapping into that energy for real, man. Yeah. But so what comes to mind is a lot of different shit. So have you ever been intimidated or bullied at any point in your life?
Of course.
Just lived under intimidation, not just an isolated incident. You know what I mean? Have you ever lived under intimidating factors? Like, intimidation is real, bullying is real, and on that level, Stockholm Syndrome is real. I
do believe that was a thing here.
You know what I mean? I feel like after a while, you're in it until you get the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just get caught up in some shit and you're in it until you get out. Whether, you've been conditioned to enjoy that shit, because you can have certain guilty pleasures or whatever, and they say don't dance with the devil or be careful what you ask for type shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody has fantasies and she got a chance to live it, but whether you high off drugs or liquor, there's still some accountability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On both parts. I don't condone hitting women.
I mean, look crazy.
I don't condone hitting women, and I've been in situations where I've been asked to do that to prove my love, and it's just not me. So I don't play with that fire. I don't tempt myself in areas that might be, I'm not gonna say that. I do play with fire a little bit. I do play with fire a little bit. But I keep water next to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can douse myself or the situation. I don't know. The thought I was thinking though was the fact that a lot of times people just get in situations. I think of like homies that were gangbanging, you know. That shit get glamorous in the beginning. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You join the set, you know, you got niggas that's supposed to love you, that's down for you, that's proven that, you know, you matter. And then you got to do some shit you really didn't think you had to do. You know what I
I think
mean?
that sums this up for real, for real.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we just got to be careful what we engage ourselves in, man. You know what I mean? Because life will life your ass. You feel me?
Oh, for sure. And if you know somebody got Stockholm Syndrome and you choose to deal with them, you got to understand, especially if you don't have the best of temperament, that can come back to bite you.
All day.
It can definitely come back to bite you because, you know, you might get away with doing something here and there that you may have not done in the past just because, you know, how she is and her demeanor.
Right.
And you might end up doing something worse in the future and then come back and next thing you know, your freedom's taken away and you thinking it's something that, well, got to hold accountability.
I mean, I think you was talking about something earlier about the BDPS or some shit. What was it? It's acronym.
Borderline personality.
You know
Nah, it's called BDSM. It's like when you have a woman that's called a
Right.
dominatrix and she basically dominates you in bed. And I think there's a thin line of boundaries when it comes to sexual encounters because, like, in this case, you know, the whole Me Too era is about what's considered consensual and what's not, and when does it not become consensual, because there are a lot of cases where it starts off consensual and you may do an act, and I'm not saying this in an innocent way.
Right.
You might not be aware of what you did was unconsensual, and you might have a problem on your hands, and that's where the Me Too era kind of helped out, man.
So no is no, man. When you're dealing with a woman, little fellas, little homies, little G's, young men, you know what I mean? When you're dealing with a woman, I advise you to control the situation, not like Diddy. You know what I mean? Have limitations for yourself. That way a woman can't get you out of pocket. Cause I mean, even
Yeah.
the Bible talks about the temptress and how, you know, she'll lure you, her bed will take you to the grave type stuff, you know. But I think it's important for a man who considers himself a man, like men like old school, you know what I mean? I think it's important for him to not allow himself to be overwhelmed by the pussy, for real. I mean, because it's as big as a drug as meth or heroin, for real, man. And I ain't gonna lie, man, I fall victim in my day. I'm not perfect.
Oh yeah, you knew better.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, women are beautiful, man. I heard the reporter say how Donald Phillips, you know, how he was so overwhelmed with her beauty, he just wanted to protect her. But he wasn't turning down
Yeah.
that money to be a part of that situation. So you gotta have some boundaries, man, of your own.
100%.
You gotta have some boundaries of your own so that you don't get caught up in that kind of shit. I brought the dominatrix situation up because you were talking about in context, we were just talking about getting ourselves in something that we might not be able to get ourselves out of. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you had mentioned a lady and her man simulating a.
Oh
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Great. Yeah.
I don't understand how you can fake somebody. Like, for one, I don't understand the mentality of I don't get aroused at non-consensual anything. I don't get aroused at non-consensual anything. You know what I mean? To make
So
that happen.
just to preface, it was a girl on Reddit. Her and her boyfriend of 3 years was going to act out sexual assault between the two, and so she got drunk, and they recorded it even. And you know, he took it from her, but they explained ahead of time that this is what they was going to do. And long story short, she ended up regretting it afterwards, and she started questioning whether or not he took it too far, even though that's what they agreed to. And as I was saying earlier, that's why it's just better to not even place yourself in these situations because it's just not worth it.
And that's the example that I would use to show men, like, I don't care what your girlfriend fantasy is. If it's something that extreme, you might have to say, baby, not tonight. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, because a woman's emotional psyche is so fragile, man. You know what I mean? And who knows what you might trigger. Why would you want to fake? I think it's already consensual because you already agreed to it. But how other than him putting hands on her, slapping her, you know what I mean, that kind of thing.
It's kind of like marriage, you know what they say. You know, women, they can kind of wake up one day and say, I deserve better.
Right. I'm leaving you now.
You know, it's not the same. So, you know, but I do want to go back to something, you know, that I think is important too, is like, if you start to feel any type of resistance, like I'm the type that if I feel any resistance, or you can even talk to me sexually, right? And if I message you back on it and then I start noticing you're like falling back or whatever the case is, I'll fall all the way back. Like, I'll never chase or do anything that causes me to go out my way to jump in a pool of water, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, man, I agree. I'm the same way. I mean, it's so extreme that I'll get all the way turned off if I'm not sure you're with it. You know what I mean? Like, and it'll be like, what happened? And I'm like, you made me seem like, you know what I mean? You made me seem like you were. So he went to sleep on your ass. You know what I mean?
Right.
Real talk. I mean, I enjoy the experience so much, and it's about creating the experience with the woman as well. I don't want to taint it or it to be perverse. Well, it could be perverse if it's consensual, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I just don't want to be in a position where I'm not sure this is what you want to do, and if that's the case, then nothing's happening. You know, just that simple.
Because I've been in those situations too. Or we both slept in the bed once because, you know, if I feel any last minute resistance, and I've even been asked, like, and it's like, well, if I feel any slight, I'm not saying that like it got to be on my time, but like if I
definitely
periodically make efforts and I feel resistance each time, like I'm just not the type to keep pushing through.
Nowadays, they say masculinity is toxic, man. But there has to be a gauge. There are measures of strength and weaknesses in every situation, whether you got a car with 100 horsepower, you know what I mean, 8 cylinders or 12 cylinders. You know, strength is measured in so many ways. And as a man, I think we have to have certain values and belief systems that develop manly strength. Weak men, I think, as powerful as Puffy is, and as influencing as he is, as talented as he is, there's a certain level of weakness that will make you bully somebody. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Because we think weak men are also pushovers. You know what I mean? But weakness can be shown in extreme characteristics. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that Puffy exemplified that. When you're beating up on a woman, I think that's weak. You know, I heard he even hit his mama. You know what I mean?
Anything possible.
You know, so it goes back to setting beliefs and values, having a belief system, value system. You know, a code of conduct, morals, that kind of thing. You know, I think that develops the strength in a man. I think Cassie's husband.
Oh man.
You know, he's in an effed up position, man.
Yeah,
you know
yeah. And the kid's on the way.
I don't know that is that Puffy's kid or
I mean, I don't know. I assume it's his.
Because you said they were
Right.
I don't know if it makes him weak or strong to be able to stand by his woman and wife.
And listen, if
some shit like that, I don't know.
I mean, I've been in that position before, but hey, listen, at this age, if I'm with a girl and I find out that she used to get trained on videos or all types of crazy mess was going on, like within the past year of me knowing her, I ain't gonna lie, bro, my chest will probably hurt. But I just gotta take it in stride and cut the rope on the, you know what I'm saying? Because
even if she as bad as Cassie or Alicia
I don't care
Keys,
what she look like. Because at the end of the day, it's always gonna be in your mind that this happened. Like, and to each his own on this one, but let's say she did some stuff in college or whatever. You know, that's upon you if you want to overlook that. But like a year ago, this was going on. Like escorts, like there was money being exchanged. Man, listen, I'm in my mid-30s. I ain't about to be dealing with that.
Right.
So I don't know if I want to call him strong. He's strong in the sense of, I mean, that takes a lot to stand next to your woman. I mean, that is his wife, so he respects his vows, but at the same time, that'd be a little bit too much for me, man.
Yeah. Like, I didn't know all that, baby.
You didn't discuss none of this with me? Like, what?
Right.
You
didn't tell me I was dealing with all this before I said, will you marry me? Before I asked for your hand in marriage. I don't know, man. everybody has a certain level of fortitude, you know.
Yeah.
What's weird to some people ain't to others. So, you know, who am I to judge? I think even strong men do weak shit. Like, I mean, I can admit that I've been passive aggressive in situations when it comes to talking to my lady because I didn't want to feel like I was being mean or some shit. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to hurt her feelings. So I don't know if that's considered weak, but kind of trying to avoid being direct.
A lot of times, like in this situation,
because I didn't mean to cut you off,
yeah,
but I try to always put myself in a position so I don't judge somebody else, man. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, that's why I gave the disclaimer.
Right.
Because like the thing with weak men is, and I don't know if this dude, I assume he fits this description, but sometimes men are weak because they're insecure, like they're scared of the woman leaving them.
Agreed.
So it's like, I know you've been through some messed up things, but I'm gonna stand by your side because I'm that strong.
Right.
You justify in your head while you're standing next to her, but deep down inside, you're really next to her because you're scared of being alone. Or you got a baby on the way and you married, and the idea of explaining that to your family, like at this current moment, you don't want to deal with the heartbreak and the breakup and the fight afterwards. Like, you might not want to be dealing with that at that moment. And so that's, in my opinion, why some men tend to be weak at times instead of taking a strong route. Because think of how many dudes be like, oh yeah, you see it on Facebook, being single is like more happy than being in a relationship. And it's like, you're just scared, like, listen.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I wouldn't say being single is more happy. And that's funny because I've never even thought about it like that, though. You know what I mean? You avoiding upsets. I've sabotaged situations because I thought to myself, yeah, I ain't ready for that. I ain't ready for this shit. You know what I mean? So I've allowed situations to just go awry, and that's some weak shit too. You know what I mean? For real, trying not to be.
I've done that before too. Like,
You know what I mean?
ghosted. I really felt ashamed of that because, like, bro, you ain't had the nuts to say how you felt. Like, you just stopped responding and disappeared.
Right.
You know, I was way back when I was super young too.
So yeah, man, you know, we learn, bro. We learn.
Live and learn.
That's what this shit is all about. To learn from these mistakes and share with them other people, so they can know that they're not the only ones. Because we ain't the only ones that go through the shit we go through or think the shit we think. But we might not really have anybody to have a sounding board to help decipher them thoughts and them feelings. You know.
And nobody will ever know if we don't speak about it, say it out loud. And it's the last thing I want to talk about too, man. It's not necessarily a thing with weak men, but it is trendy. I just want to touch a little bit on entrepreneurship. Like, when I hear entrepreneur, because I know the technical definition is like damn near like having a scalable business. It's like being a freelancer, but you can scale it to an extent. And I just think it's a word that's popular that everybody considers themselves, but deep down inside, they're not one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I do freelance work, independent work, but deep down inside, I don't necessarily identify as an entrepreneur. It's like I just don't feel like anybody. I ain't gonna say anybody can hustle, but it's kind of easy to do that. But as far as being a businessman, I don't think that's me.
Yeah, and I'm a barber learning how to be a businessman, honestly, because it's real. Like everything is a definition. Everything has certifications and everything. I think we were talking earlier, and I mean, it's common sense. An entrepreneur is somebody with a business who is in business for themselves. It can be taken lightly because a hustler could consider himself an entrepreneur. It's certified when you might have products and services and a Google address or review.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of shit. Like,
that's an entrepreneur to me.
There's a difference also between entrepreneur and small business. Like, you can be an entrepreneur and not have a storefront, but you have clientele and you provide a service and you have cards. I mean, but some people feel like shit, if they want to call them entrepreneurs because they freelance,
and I just think
I don't care.
It's just been devalued because, like, you can say, "Oh, I have a business," and it's like you never sold a product. And it's like, oh, okay, I sell little things on the side, like on Craigslist or Facebook. And to me, anybody can do that. That's like more freelance work. It's not like there's no brand or name behind what you're doing. So when I hear entrepreneur, I tend to think of somebody that has a name behind their services,
Right.
you know, that kind of thing, versus somebody that is selling a chair on marketplace. Like, I don't think that makes you an entrepreneur.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Definition of entrepreneur: a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses taking on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
a freelancer,
They do sound, by definition. But I'm just saying, like, when I hear it, just to keep some value to the word, you know.
right? I mean, because we use words the way we want to.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh,
most
yeah.
times we use them in context without knowing the specific definition, you know, because we
Yeah.
just know our language. But yeah, nah,
Especially narcissists.
yeah, right.
And that's every man, by the way.
Because masculinity is toxic, you know.
Yeah, of
But
course it is.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
so I
like
mean,
Cassie.
if somebody got selling t-shirts out the trunk, and he making money and he's repeating the process,
Yeah, repeating the
you
process.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
If it's like one time thing, I don't know. Like, I
So
just
a
don't.
dope dealer,
Actually, technically, I think being a hustler is an entrepreneur.
bro.
It's like a limited entrepreneur, but it's still your business, your prices, your clients, your. There's no name behind it though. Like who's Rico? That's a common name in the street. Everybody's Rico, or they got some kind of Spanish, or
Right.
yeah, Pablo. You know what I mean? Like,
Listen, get your money the best way you can, man. Hopefully it ain't hurting nobody while you're doing it. And consider yourself an entrepreneur. That might encourage you to do more with your creativity and your imagination. Like, I'm not promoting dope dealers, but if it puts you in a position, I ain't even gonna say that.
I was about to say, yeah, I don't know about that
I
one,
mean,
bro.
I know I got a lot of OGs, man, that they sold dope for most of the '90s, and now they doing all right with a little business. You know what I mean? They family cool type shit. Like,
Oh, the most that I known in town ain't got nothing to show for.
hey,
Like, I mean, that was
this
actually
so
right. You ain't seen people pulling up in
right.
Bentleys and all
The
that.
ones that are showing for it ain't here no more.
Yeah, right.
They moved away.
Because it's like, how long do they got till something happens? But minority don't make the majority. Majority don't end well.
Right.
So
right.
there's a very small few that are exception to the rule that actually make it out and stay out. You know what I mean? Like, that's the most important thing.
We're here at 313 Beauty Supply, Icons Barber and Beauty Salon, 125 North Allison, Xenia, Ohio, 45385. Check us out anytime.
Yes, sir.